Alright, my Wi-Fi should be better now. Hopefully it doesn't fucking crash again. I don't know for how long I was drawing, but my fucking stupid, what's it called, internet died. So I don't know how long I was drawing before it started cutting out, and I don't know what I lost. And alright. I mean, like, it's kind of hard to spoil an expansion that hasn't even come out yet. But for the information that we have been given, yes, technically this video does have spoilers. Also, I'm seriously concerned about what is going on with Drifter. And I know you're like, okay, hold on, Tired, what the fuck? But hear me out. Stinky Ratman doesn't have a face anymore. Or at least the lower half of his face. Because Eris doesn't have to wear a mask, Exy doesn't have to wear a mask, Vadix doesn't have to wear a mask, then why the hell is Drifter wearing a mask? It's not to breathe. So unless he's just being freaking social distancing shit, which good on him, I have a feeling something bad is going to happen to Drifter. And he's gonna lose the lower half of his face. Like his jaw is just gonna get ripped clean off. Like between the bank, which is a big problem, like the Umbral decoder, and then this thing with all the taken juice in it is also a problem. And then this shit is also a problem. We also see Drifter. Hold on. In the Vidoc, there's a split second where we see Drifter toss a stasis grenade, so we know for a fact he's gonna get stasis. But at what cost? And if this does actually come to pass, that's just another "I told you so." Alright, hold on, I gotta fix my headset, it's sliding off my face. Let's see, what other doodles can I do? So I'm thinking, like, oh, I have an idea. The fucking satyrs. These things, yeah, the yeet harpies, as I've heard them called. Personally, I prefer the term satyr because it doesn't sound cursed as shit. Um, these guys also have a ring for a face, like a freaking ring of eyes. And they have freaking guns underneath their wings. Why don't these be named something dumb like pixies? Cause like, actually, you know what? No, I love that. I absolutely love that. Satyr is out, pixie is in. Cause like, look at this. It's just an orb with legs and a pair of guns. And a bunch of tentacles, but those are not exactly important to what the point I'm trying to make is. The point I'm trying to make is that, yeah. Like all the Vex units are named after things in mythology. Hydra, Goblin, Hobgoblin, Minotaur, Cyclops, etc. And most of the named mines are also named after Greek characters. So, yeah. This thing really reminds me of the fucking Hydra boss from Garden, but we don't know much. Don't want to lose the wonderful fucking pixie. Also, thanks to like a half-second frame of the trailer, we now know the name of the mini insurrection primes, which are called Brigs, and they belong to House Salvation. Now, we knew that it was going to be House Salvation because there was a screenshot of a fallen captain with the name House Salvation, but now it's all but confirmed. Freaking Mike Wazowski looking bitch ass. Like, fucking, there you go, Mike Wazowski. But, I have a feeling, actually, you know what? If that ends up being the freaking call out for this thing in a raid, that's gonna be amazing. Like, come on, it even has the little antenna. I find it interesting that Civics was the first one to use these, and now we have Aramis using them. And this could just be a whole recycling models kind of thing, but Civics built these using Black Armory tech. Well, and he only built one. He built a massive one with a frickin' nuke in it. But if Aramis is making these things en masse, that's gonna be a problem. And I think I know how she's doing it. So if you read the collector's edition lore book, there is entry in it in which Clovis Bray basically kidnaps a Vex to build them a portal to something that they were studying. I can't remember how they found it. I think they wanted a way to harness the clarity, so they were like, you know what, fuck it, the Vex. The Vex are good builders. So they steal one off of Venus, right? They steal one from the Ishtar Collective. And then they make this bitch go to work. It's a single construction unit. We don't know what it looks like. We don't know if it was a goblin, a hobgoblin, whatever. But this lad goes off and builds Clovis Bray a gate. It takes him a while, but he does it. And this gate which we're going to call the Forge Star Gate, for reasons we'll see. This gate leads to a kind of temporal flux, where inside there is a sun, right? A massive star. Like, so big this thing should have been dead already. But around it are these weird little Vex constructs that are constantly feeding it. So it's grabbing stuff from the outside layer of the sun and then shoving it back inside the center to be processed again. It's literally this giant convection cell of sun shit. And the Vex are keeping the sun alive for basically an infinite amount of metal. And that is how the Vex make their frames. From metal from this Forge Star. And Clovis Bray is like, oh shit. And they went to one of these little the little rings. They went there and they found a bunch of radiolaria. They got some in a jar, Just gonna draw a little mason jar of radiolaria. That looks more like a flask, but okay. They grab a little jar of radiolaria, they take it back to CB, and they freaking mix that with stasis and make exos. Because they were having trouble getting the brain to like do its thing, right? Like the brain would be like, oh shit, I'm not a human body, and then just fucking die. But with the clarity, which is what CB called the darkness, the clarity combined with the processing power of the radiolaria, he created a kind of basically neural system for the exos that would work. And, you know, not fucking implode and make them rip themselves apart, because that happens a lot in the lore book. It's very disturbing. But and then he comes across the problem of DER. This is whenever he first experiments with the Vex milk and the clarity, he comes across DER, which is kind of like the problem that the proto-exos were having, but worse. Where basically the mind believes that it is dead, that it is trapped in the corpse. And like, hold on. If I can find the entry. I have it written down on my iPad somewhere. It's extremely disturbing, but also very interesting. Why the fuck did National Geographic send me an article that says "Are vampire hunters real?" No, no, you can't just say that. All right. So the collector's edition lore book, in a nutshell. So Clovis Bray is old, keeps replacing his guts with pig intestines. This is a reoccurring thing in the journal. It's weird as shit. It's not very addressed. Whatever. Clovis Bray wants a son. Clovis Bray is a misogynistic asshole. Fucked up shit ensues. He clones himself and replaces all female DNA with his own mitochondrial DNA to guarantee that the son is his own. Like, I'm sorry, you're supposed to get that shit from the mom? And then, because Clovis Bray is fucking with the genetics of this son, it leaves him with a prion disease that eventually makes him unable to sleep, and he dies of insomnia and hypnagogia. And basically dies of sleep deprivation, which is a fucking mood. Is my stream still going? Yes, my stream is still going. But, before he dies of sleep deprivation, this son has 3 kids. Wilhelmina, or however the fuck you're supposed to say her name, Anastasia, and Elizabeth. Elsie. Willa goes on to study the Vex with the Ishtar Collective, which is a rival to Braytech. Anastasia goes to Mars and builds Rasputin. And Elizabeth runs away from Clovis Bray entirely and goes exploring. And at this point, the son dies. His brain is uploaded into a proto-exo. They hold a funeral, there are some words exchanged. It is not looking good. Eventually, this proto-exo literally rips himself apart. Like, rips himself limb from limb. Because of proto-DER. And now all the CB kids absolutely hate Clovis Bray. So Clovis Bray, seeing this, is like, oh shit, and is now hellbent on immortality. So he goes and steals shit from the K1 crew, because the Clovis Bray organization helped fund the people on the moon. Hold on. So he goes in and steals some stuff from the K1 crew. And he finds the journals that we see in the Unveiling lore books and the Lost Sector lore books, you know? And he goes, oh shit, there's something really happening here. And he starts getting visions from the darkness. So, and he dubs this the clarity. And he has like this whole Frankenstein brain moment, and he's like, oh my god, I can use this to gain immortality. So he hauls ass to Europa, because the darkness says ancient power awaits on Europa, or whatever the fuck. I don't know what it told him, but it probably just said the same thing it told to us. So he goes there, finds Stasis, and has another vision. The clarity plus his proto-exos might equal working exos. So he calls the grandkids to Europa, right? He's like, hey guys, I found some shit. But only Elsie comes. Now, behind Elsie's back, actually, no, it's not behind Elsie's back. I think Elsie goes with him. Elsie does not do this, but Clovis Bray and Dr. Sundaresh, who is important from the Worldline quest, they kidnap a Vex from Ishtar, and they force it to build a gateway. The gateway leads to a massive modified star called the Forge Star. 13 billion years old, super big and hot, and is the source of all Vex metals. CB goes to one of these the rings that are feeding the Forge Star, finds some radiolaria, steals stuff, and then goes back to Europa, back to the portal. Radiolaria plus stasis equals magic exojuice, which is what makes the brain go brr. And we finally know the composition of Vex milk, because it gets very scientific about what is going on in this. Are my layers working? Alright. It gets very scientific whenever it's working about this. It goes like, this is like a non-Newtonian fluid and blah, 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 blah. Like, I don't give a shit, okay? It's Vex milk. But CB decides, you know what? Fuck it. We're testing the exojuice. So he boots up a proto-exo, fills it with the exojuice, and the scientist seems fine for a while. And then he tries to rip his own face off. This is a quote. Well, the following is a quote or an excerpt from the Collector's Edition lorebook. He continued to insist that he was living in a nightmare. He complained of hunger, of thirst, of breathlessness, and a rot in his bowels. I became concerned that he was billboarding, but his exoneuron activity remained healthy. Shortly after, Mr. Zuck developed a full-blown Cotard delusion. I found him trying to chisel his face off with a table shim. He insisted that his true face was covered in a thick layer of keratin. Toenail was his exact word. And the rest of his body was already dead and rotting. He became violent. I had to paralyze his motor functions for diagnostic. This only made things worse. Without the satisfaction of motor feedback, he disassociated entirely. He stopped forming new memories, which trapped him in an 8-second loop of panic. After I resumed the motor functions, I watched him fill every page of a notebook with the words, I have just died. I am trapped in the corpse. Now I am certain I am dead. Death has taken me completely. I have just finished dying. Activity in his temporal lobes collapsed. In the final stages of the disease, he insisted that he had been possessed by some sort of ancient Cardvelian spirit, a memory of his upbringing in Georgia. He was insistent that this spirit was female. It is an idiosyncrasy of the Peruvian-Georgian creation myth that the male spirit is divine, while the female is demonic. Soon, Mr. Zuck's fear and panic were simply too much for him to bear. He retreated into catatonia and crashed. This guy, this shit is absolutely terrifying. Because that is just an excerpt from that lore book. If you can think, based on that, the kind of fucked up shit goes on in this lore book, you are not even at the tip of the iceberg. I 100% suggest you read it. It is amazing and horrifying. And I want to punch Clovis Bray so bad. This guy deserves to freaking knock his jaw the right way. Fuck. Where's my rotation? There we go. But that lore book was a lot. A lot happens there. And it ends basically with Clovis Bray saying that he will create basically new exos, improving upon the clarity and all of that. Like, basically just saying, I'm going to use stasis to make exos. This motherfucker. Listen, whenever your prime test subject tries to rip his face off because he says it's a toenail and then believes that he is trapped in his own corpse, that is a sign to not keep going. That is not a sign of success. Insanity. The repetition of a singular event with the expectation that it will yield different results. Jesus Christ. Yeah, so a lot of messed up stuff happens in that lore book, and among them is the Forge Star. Well, the Forge Star in of itself isn't exactly messed up. It's actually very interesting. I love the concept. But the problem is that when Clovis Bray goes to the Forge Star and goes to one of the little satellites of the Forge Star, I think it might have been Elsie who went with him. Someone shot at the Vex and hurt them. In fact, I think they actually killed a Vex. Because there was a goblin there who was just patrolling, right? He was just there. And someone fucking just killed him. And if you can tell, the Vex don't like being murdered. Which is understandable, because murder isn't fun. Well, at least not when you're on the receiving end. But, and this Vex dies. And I think this is actually how they collect its radiolaria. Like, I don't know if they get it from one of the streams, because there's just absolute streams and spires of radiolaria on this. It looks like freaking Mercury. But, small. I don't know if they grab the radiolaria from this dead Vex frame, or if they grab it from the streams on the ground, but they grab that and then they hop back through the portal. Also, they still had that Vex frame, the one who built them this gate. It's described in the book as some kind of artifact that they stole from the Ishtar Collective. Now, I don't know what kind of artifact it is. We don't know if it's an object, or if it's just a regular Vex boy that looks like a letter with a dot next to it, but whatever. We don't know if it's like some kind of like orb, like the sundial key, or like an actual Vex frame, or a new dude that we have no fucking idea how it exists. But they stole it from Venus, and they brought it to Europa, where it built the portal to the Forge Star, because they were studying shit and they found, hey, there's a trace of something that we could do something here or whatever. And then they go here and like, oh shit, grab radiolaria and run. And from there, they close down the Forge Star, I believe. Or at least they close down the portal to the Forge Star. Now, here's where things get interesting. We could very well possibly travel to this Forge Star, which would be amazing. Because in one of the first trailers that dropped for Beyond Light, there was a couple seconds of a large Vex portal surrounded by Clovis Bray data stacks and Fallen technology hooked up to it. The Fallen could be using this Forge Star for the metals they need to build their brigs, which would make sense. But if that's true, that means that the Fallen have had more contact with the Vex than we know, and that is extremely concerning. Also, Aramis's 4 lieutenants. If I can open up Bungie.net. This is why did I have my caps lock on? All right. I think I might be able to see him in the background of this. There's more to the darkness than we thought. There's Aramis. Here we go. The House Salvation Elites. Atrax, Gridis, Philax, and Praxis. The highest ranking and most trusted subjects of the fallen Cult of Darkness. We only see 3 here. But if you look very closely in one of the more recent trailers, you can actually see. I'm not going to show it because I don't know if my freaking YouTube is going to scrank me. But you can look very closely in the background and you will see a 4th person. It has this kind of like horn halo look to him. Very bulky. Arms cut close to his chest. This is like some kind of brawler. And I have a feeling this right here is some kind of Vex construct. So you know how there's the abominations from the Scorn, those giant overswollen dregs? Yeah, I have a feeling this guy is going to be like the abomination of the House of Salvation. And this is going to be something to do with the Vex. This might be our dungeon to go to the Forge Star and shut down the operation that this guy is leading to get the House of Salvation materials to build their brigs. Like, it makes sense, right? Like, even having a freaking icy ring of Vex tech on his back would make sense. But whatever. I don't know what his deal is. I have a feeling that's one of the other lieutenants. It might be Praxis. This might be Praxis. Because Atrax, Gredis, and was it Berax? Were the other ones? But Praxis wasn't shown. So we don't know what they look like. But I have a feeling this is what they look like. Some giant Elixni with a Vex frame on his back that's laying siege to this Forge Star. Ow, my jaw just popped. But yeah. Yeah, this dude, I'm actually very excited to see what they're actually going to do with this design. Because it's a very faint silhouette in the background. You can barely see. Like, I had to brighten the image in order to find this guy. Thank you to my early years of fandom that taught me that tool. But, don't ask what fandom, I'm not going to tell. But, this guy is very hard to see. He's kept in the dark for a reason. I've heard rumors that there might be another dungeon added in Season of the Hunt. And we might. Not entirely sure what we're hunting. It seems like some kind. Though this might be a dungeon related to the story and not from the season. Like how Prophecy was related to the season and not Shadowkeep. Or whatever. I have a feeling this guy is going to have to deal with the story. Because if we shut down the mining operation on the Forge Star, that'll be a massive blow to the House of Salvation. Just absolutely destroy their infrastructure. I don't know how to spell lieutenant. I'm just gonna go with that. Um, but yeah, like I am very excited for Beyond Light. If you can't fucking tell, because of all this. Oh God, I have a problem. But how long was this going? Oh, that's about half an hour. Okay. Well, total, I've been streaming for about an hour from this and then the other one. But I'm gonna go ahead and head out. I'm gonna try to post this image in Discord, hopefully, if it isn't too freaking big. But yeah.